Welcome to World of Marketing Podcast, a Foster Web Marketing production. Here's your host, Tom Foster.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the World of Marketing, where I talk with industry leaders about marketing, mindset, and business growth. This episode is brought to you by my own company, Foster Web Marketing. Foster Web Marketing is dedicated to providing cutting-edge, highly customizable websites, marketing, video, and strategic solutions specifically designed for law firms, medical practices, and other professional service businesses. Our award-winning marketing and system solutions are what sets us apart from everyone else. Please go to our website at fosterwebmarketing.com if you want to know more about doing marketing that really works for your business, medical practice, or law firm. Shout out to the amazing Dr. Jeremy Weiss. A big thank you for referring this next VIP guest. Jeremy is the podcast expert and runs Rise 25. They actually run this podcast, the World of Marketing Podcast, and you can find out more about what Rise 25 is all about and Dr. Jeremy Weiss. Go to rise25.com. But enough of that. Today, wait no longer. I got a big guest, VIP. My guest is William Harris. And he is the founder and CEO of Elumynt. Did I say it right? Elumynt?
No, but that's okay. It's Elumynt. And
Elumynt. Okay. I butchered it. Elumynt. I'm sorry, man.
It's okay. Good.
An e-commerce growth agency focused on profit instead of return on advertising spend that Adweek ranked as the 12th fastest growing agency in the world. He's helped 13 companies get acquired, including one that sold to GoDaddy and one that fetched nearly $800 million. Williams' agency, Elumynt, was recently featured as an Inc. 5000 winner, as well as an Inc. Best Workplaces winner. Well, that's great. William Harris has authored over 200 articles about e-commerce, advertising, and leadership on Entrepreneur, Fast Company, Shopify, T&W, Social Media Today, and many other places. When he's not busy hyperscaling businesses, he enjoys spending as much time as he can with his wife and daughters, playing the guitar, swimming in the Minnesota lakes, and learning more about God. So this is great. It's great to know you, William. It's great to meet you, my friend.
Likewise. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So tell us, look, you're a young man. We were talking a little bit before I hit record on this thing. And you live in Minnesota?
Yep.
Okay. And so how did you, you're a young guy, how did you get started in all this?
So, the short version of this is I wanted to be a rock star. I see you've got the guitars in the background.
Yeah, we got this in common. We're both guitar players. Yep.
And my mom wisely said, well, that's not a career path. And that's fair. For most people, that doesn't turn into a career. And so, I initially went to school for nursing. And then nursing, we'll fast forward through that part of that story, but nursing turns into marketing. And then when I started doing marketing, I ended up at this company called When I Work, where they were doing employee scheduling for hourly workers. And I led the marketing for this company. And they were a SaaS company, VC backed, and scaled them about 270% in the first 7 months. I started writing about what I'm doing on Entrepreneur and Fast Company. And people came out of the woodwork, saying, well, can you grow our company? I was like, well, sure. Why not? So I didn't do it on purpose initially. It was just, I like helping people and I know how to do this. And so, sure. I didn't realize just how broken agency model was at the time that I started this. I never worked for an agency.
When was this?
Yeah, this would have been 2000. I want to say 13 is when I started it When I Work. 2015 is when I took Elumynt live. And so what I started realizing, though, is that people would say, oh, the agency doesn't understand our business. And what I began to realize was it's not that they don't understand our niche. Sure, that's part of it. They actually just don't understand business. They might understand the tactic that they're doing, but not how it fits into the bigger piece of the pie. And this is what really kind of spurred this idea behind, what if we can optimize advertising around EBITDA, around profit, not just around top line revenue, which might not actually be beneficial to the company for one reason or another, but how can we actually tie it to what they're really wanting? And once we started doing that, we're looking at P&Ls and understanding it. Our entire team now is smarter about how is what we're doing impacting the business in the way that they actually care about.
Wow. So how do you do that though? Like, how do you like focus it on EBITDA? Like, how do you explain that?
So there's two main ways that we're looking at optimizing ads from an EBITDA perspective. One would be like at the aggregate view of the business, and I'll explain that one in a minute. And then the other one is at the unit economics, so each individual sale. So I'm going to start on the unit economics first because I think that's easier for people to grasp. Let's say that you have a catalog of 1,000 different products that you're selling. Let's say that one of these products is $200, and the margin on that product, let's say, is $50. So you make $50 profit on that product. Once you factor out your cost of goods sold and everything else. Let's say you have another product though that's $100 is what you sell it for, but your margin on that one is $75. You got a very low cost of goods sold on that one. Well, the normal way that advertising is going to work, let's say if you're doing Google Shopping ads, Performance Max or something, it's going to look for the highest return on ad spend. And so let's say that you pay $30 to acquire a customer. Let's say you pay $50 to acquire a customer. On that $200 purchase, if you only had a $50 margin, that $50 to acquire that customer, you profited $0 on that transaction.
Right.
Whereas on the other one, where you had a $100 purchase, you pay the same amount, pay $50 to acquire that purchase, but you had a $75 margin. So you made $25 profit on that one. Now, what you're going to look at in your report in the ads platform is it's going to tell you ROAS, return on ad spend, ROAS, and it's going to show you that, hey, you paid $50 to get a $200 order. That's a 4-to-1 versus $50 to get a $100 order. It's like, hey, we're doing better if we go after that $200 order. Let's get more of those. And so the algorithm is incentivized to get you more and more of those because it looks better. But when you look at your bottom line, you're not making more profit. You're making more top line, but you're making less bottom line. So that's a big, big part of what we're challenging is how do we feed that information into the platform and help the platform to optimize better around the products that are driving more unit profit. That's step one.
Wow. That's fascinating.
Step two then is the aggregate level. And this is one that a lot of businesses don't get into because oftentimes the marketing team and the finance team might be siloed, where the marketing team doesn't look at the P&L. They don't know where the overhead is or any of these other numbers. And so they end up looking at things again where they'll say, hey, we need to be at this level of, let's say, return on ad spend. And the number that we like to use typically for that when you're looking at the company-wide is MER, which stands for media efficiency rate. And so you're just going to take the total revenue the business made divided by the total ad spend. So ad spend on Google, Facebook, Bing, TikTok, everywhere, blend it all, total revenue. What does that end up looking like? And so they might say, we need to be at an 8x return on ad spend or MER there. Well, that's fine. But in order to do that, the agency says, okay, well, you're at a 6x right now. To get you to an 8x, we're going to cut back here. We're going to pull back here because this is not getting you to an 8x. It's only at a 6x. And so we can run these campaigns and then you're at an 8x. And maybe the agency even hits a 10x, right? And they pat themselves on the back and it was really good. But in order to do that, they pulled back the ad spend so much that now you don't actually even cover your overhead. And so from a company-wide standpoint, sure, you're more profitable based on what those metrics say, but the company, the CFO comes back and says, guys, it's fine that you went from a 6x to an 8x or a 10x, but we lost money this month compared to last month. This is not good. And so marketing scratches their head and everybody kind of wonders what's going on. So we like to look at a lot of this is just from an aggregate level. What happens if we actually take you from a 6x spending $100,000 to a 5.5x spending $200,000? As long as your overhead doesn't significantly grow, your COGS should stay a relative percentage to that. Your shipping a relative percentage to that. Your returns a relative percentage to that. But now you're net profiting significantly more.
Okay, so you're a marketing guy. How did you figure that out? I mean, how did you come across that? Because marketing guys are thinking about copy and thinking about that stuff, but you're a marketing guy thinking about the numbers too, right? So that's a pretty unique skill. So good for you on that.
Yeah, thanks. I think a lot of this comes down to two main things. One is I have an insatiable thirst for just digging into everything, and I've always been that way.
The data.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
right? And
right.
so in the early days of me running, marketing for these different companies, I'm trying to figure out, but did what I do actually improve the business, or is it just some vanity metric?
Right.
So I'm looking at that, and then it helped me kind of like want to make sure that I understand how we do this better for people. But the other part of this is I'm equal brained, right and left brain. So I'm equal side creative, equal side logical. I love math, but I also love art and music and everything else, right? And so I think part of that allowed me to think about both sides of the equation in an equal amount. And then the curiosity just kind of took over from there and said, okay, let's dig in. Is this actually doing better or not?
Wow. So you've been doing this since 2013 or 2015, I think you said. So
Yeah.
how many, have you had any, made any mistakes along the way?
Plenty.
Yeah. So like, what's some of your big mistakes?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I really appreciate, there's two that I'll share. One of them, and I think this is common for a lot of entrepreneurs, so I like this. And I see you've got the EOS book in the back. We implemented EOS last year, and it was breath of fresh air when I went through this as an owner, right? Mistake number one that I made was it talks a lot about right person, right seat.
Yeah.
And I just talked about how I'm split 50-50 on the tests for right brain, left brain. Well, most people aren't split that way. Most people have a specific, bend towards them where they're either more logical or more creative, usually. And I can remember in the early days, maybe banging my head against the wall because some of the people that were on my team, maybe running ads, would be just hyper logical and they're doing really great work on that. And it's, you ask them to come up with something creative for that company to run the ads better, and they're just not figuring out. And the flip side was also true. I'd have people that were doing just amazing creative, but it's like, well, but why did you make this move? That was not a very logical move, right? And so I just remember realizing it was like, I played basketball.
Wow, you're stuck in the middle there. You're just stuck. It's a torture. Wow.
Well, and so what I realized was just like basketball, maybe I'm putting this 5-foot guy in at my post player and asking him to get rebounds. And he's like, I'm doing the best I can, but I wasn't made for this. That's not my natural, That's not the right person, right seat. And so realizing, how do I make sure I put the right people in the right seats and not expect the wrong things out of the right people, because then they're not going to be successful at what I'm looking for, but they actually could be hyper successful at something completely different. That was mistake number one.
Well, I went to the same thing. I mean, like EOS fixed so much for us. I mean, in the right seat, and EOS has just been phenomenal for us. So what's the other mistake? You said you had two big ones. What's the other one?
The other big one for me that I would think is, and this is probably the biggest one, is one that I'm still working on a lot here today, is, and you'll hear people say working in the business, not working on the business. And it makes sense, kind of. But what I realized is, we started growing when we built the business. I didn't actually go into creating an agency from the outside looking in saying, how do I want to create an agency? I created the agency because people said, hey, can you help me grow? And I said, sure, why not? And so it was a very different thing. Whereas if I was going to start, let's say a construction business, I don't know how to, I'm decently handy, but I couldn't run it. I don't know construction well enough to get too deep into the weeds of running that business. So I would say if I was going to start that, I would be looking at it from a model perspective from the very beginning, saying, great, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. I would know all the models and I could stay out of the weeds. Well, the problem here is, for a longest time, I was our chief strategist on client side stuff. Now it's since shifted, which is good. But for a while there, it's like, well, I'm just so focused on what works for our B2C businesses that we're growing that I'm not putting together the right model that I want for our B2B service-based business. And so that model just literally didn't exist. We just kept growing, and that was great and fine. And I didn't have to think about it until all of a sudden I did. When you reach 15 employees and you say, I actually really need to put together a model of what do we do to intentionally grow this business. And so I think the biggest mistake I made was not thinking through what that model looks like in an ideal scenario, and then we could benchmark it. And so instead saying, here's what our budget model needs to look like. That's not what it is today, but I want to spend X amount on partnerships. I want to spend X amount on education for our team and whatever these things might be. And you say, great, Let's build that model out percentage wise. And now, where are we currently with that? Okay, how do we map towards getting there? If I want that to be 2%, how do I get it to 0.5% this year? How do we get it to be 1% next year? And let's at least just say, what is that model, and start aiming towards that.
Wow, you're such a unique CEO vision, because you're both. You're both the you're both the visionary and the integrator, aren't you? You're both of them.
Well, you know,
like
from a true integrator perspective, no. I tend to get my feet into the weeds of the numbers, yes. But when you look at like the other questions for integrator, when it's, you know, wants to deal with the daily problems, absolutely not. That'll suck the soul right out of my body.
Okay, you got so you only go so far there.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was like trying to draw a comparison between you and I, because I feel the same way. Like the biggest mistake was, you know, same thing. Like I feel a kinship here, where I was desperately trying to help my clients, and you know, they were coming to me like, and I built my bones on building websites for lawyers and law firms, and that's how I came to be, and medical podiatrists specifically, and they rely on us and our expertise to do that, and it's a unique market, much like your e-commerce market is a unique market.
Right.
Our market is a unique market, you know, and there's a different play to market to them, and trust. And but anyway, I had been working for 20 years on the business of helping my clients and not really paying attention to my own business, right? And and when it came time, and it was a couple of years ago, where I was approached to be, you know, acquired, and I was all excited about it. Like my ego went to oh boy, wow, you know, like, and then I just discovered, like, wait, this is a mess. I can't sell it like this. This is a mess. And that's when I adopted EOS. And I was like, we got to get this thing together first, because I've just created a disaster. So that's really the same thing. But I think mine was a little worse than yours, William.
I don't know. Well, you know, not something we want to compare probably too much, but I'm sure I got into the same situation there where it was like, boy, this is.
Yeah. It's the entrepreneurs, you know, it's all of us. It happens to all of us.
Exactly.
So, okay, we talked about your biggest mistake. Well, let's talk about some of your biggest successes. Like, what are you most proud of?
Yeah. One of the things that I'm the most proud of is when we talked about, you know, okay, so we have a lot of really fun awards. There's several things that I'm excited about with all of those. Some of these are growth awards for Elumynt's sake, right? The Inc. 5000, Adweek saying that we're 12th fastest growing in the world. Like those are exciting things. I love it, but I don't get as excited about that as I do about the two other things. One is the 13 customers that we've had acquired, because it means that we did what they needed to have happen for them to be a sellable asset and like get these numbers, and we help them increase their multiples and things like that. And so like I really like that. But if I go to the thing that now I've shifted a lot more of my focus into my team, right? Like part of EOS now, as I've shifted into more of the visionary role of who we are as a company and what we're doing and like our culture. The thing that I think mattered the most to me that we achieved last year was the Inc. Best Workplaces. It's a more difficult award. The other one is just based on very easily identifiable things, right? So you make the Inc. 5000 because you either have the revenue growth or you don't. Like there's no like debate about whether you do or not. Best Workplaces is harder, and I think they only gave that out to 475 businesses as opposed to 5,000. And the thing that I like about it though is because it's arguably a much harder thing to do, to say, do the people who work for you like being here? Do they feel like a team?
That's when I paused when I was reading that. I was like, wow, that is cool, because that's something I'm like a little envious about that you have, because I would love to. I've got 50 people working for me. I would love to have an award like that about, that's fantastic. Good for you, William.
Thanks.
I mean, that you've been able to create such a successful company that has been rewarding to you, but also creating a culture and an environment that has been rewarding to your employees. That is not an easy task, not an easy thing to do, especially with everything going on in the world today. And in this business. So well done, because this is a very competitive, cutthroat business we're in.
Yes, it is.
Advertising business. So you must be a wonderful person to be able to get these good clients, to get them to earn your trust, and to be able to get these good employees and create this culture. So good for you, my man. Great.
I appreciate it, but I think the thing that I do want to make sure I call out is that it's very much not me. And I think that's kind of where it's like, you've realized that it's like your culture is based on literally just the sum of the people that are in your organization for a lot of ways, right? It's like, so hired the right people, and those people have stepped up. We've had some, you're in a similar space here too. We've had some pretty interesting years over the last couple of years here in our space. And so, these people, they're rising to the challenge, and they're bringing ideas that I could only dream of.
Right.
One of the girls on our team, Grace, came up with the idea of peer points, where we actually give each person $250 that they can spend throughout the year on their peers to say like, hey, thank you for stepping up and doing such a great job on that call today. Or, hey, I'm sorry this happened on that, and I know that was a bummer. Like, here's, a gift for this or coffee or whatever. But like, they can send to each other. It's a brilliant idea. I didn't come up with that. Somebody on our team did.
It's really good, though. That's a great idea.
It's great because it gives everybody that opportunity to like go beyond just celebratory, congrats on Slack or Teams, but actually saying, hey, here's something very real and tangible too. But
you gave them, you put together the environment that allows them to do that stuff, which is great. Okay. So you talked about your people. Well, tell me about some of your mentors, like some of the people that mentored you. Because obviously you've had some people that have motivated you and mentored you along the way.
Yeah. 3 people come to mind that have been very, very instrumental from a purely business, perspective as far as that goes. Obviously, my wife is a mentor of her own as well. And, a calmness in my storms as an entrepreneur and things like that.
Yeah.
But my main business mentor that has turned into much more of a friendship even than a mentor now is Dave Mortensen, who started Anytime Fitness. So the whole franchise there, one of the co-founders, and he is easily the person who helps to help me reframe a lot of my thoughts that I have. And
what was that? Dave Mortensen? Mortensen.
Yep.
And what did you say? He's what fitness? What?
Anytime Fitness, which is the largest gym franchise.
Yeah, I've kind of heard of it.
Yeah. They're a big deal, right? And I remember him, he wrote a really good book called Love Work. And the way that he approached things, I tend to be much more, as we saw in the EOS framework, visionary. In fact, I've been referred to as Sheldon Cooper on more times than one, which if you know the Big Bang Theory, Sheldon Cooper, for any of the listeners, like, I don't think people were saying it as a praise as much as they're saying it's like, you're a little socially awkward. You have these moments where you might not be picking up on these social cues that people are giving. So I can remember like Dave being one of these people who helped me understand much more of like understanding the people side of the business that I'm in, and like, how can I do a better job there? Like, game changing for that. Right. The other one I really appreciate, like I said, of the 3, Jim Simpson, he was the founder of a big agency called Periscope. It's also based here in Minnesota. And I want to say they sold a couple years ago for $168 million, had a real nice exit, like just, awesome. But he really knows the agency world. And so there's many times where I'm able to talk to him and he just gives me just sound advice that's very practical and says, here's literally the person you need to talk to and like, just solve the problem and quit thinking you need to solve the problem kind of thing, right? There are people that solve those problems. Why don't you have them do that kind of thing? And then the other person that has been the biggest influence on the EOS stuff has been Shane Erickson. He runs a group called Traction Capital. But just really great at coming alongside me, helping me get involved with a lot of the right people. He's a big fan of EO, which I have been really thinking about joining here as well. It's just that idea of like getting involved in the right framework, EOS, and with the right group of people that you can just kind of share alongside. Because like you said, we might be in separate industries, you and I even a little bit, but there's an enormous amount of things that are the same. We either have a capital problem that we need to deal with. We have a personnel problem that we need to deal with. We have an inventory problem or whatever that we have similar situations that we're dealing with. And it's just helpful to talk to other people who've been through those situations and say, oh, I'm not alone.
Well, I'm very interested in talking to you more after this podcast, William, about how you would look at my industry and the marketing in my industry, and how you would do that from an EBITDA standpoint. Because I have a different challenge.
Sure.
And anyway, and so you said Shane Erickson. Where is Shane Erickson again? Who's he with?
Traction Capital.
Traction Capital. And I wanted to just touch back on EOS again. Do you have a coach? Are you working with a coach?
We are. John Click.
John Click is your coach?
Yep.
We're working with Ross Boca, who is also a fantastic coach. So anybody that's doing EOS, right, recommend
Absolutely.
the coach. You got to get the coach to go along with it, because that makes a world of difference. Don't try to do this. Don't try to do it without the coach.
I tried it for a year without the coach, right? I'm sure you did too. You're just like, I'll read the book. I'll try to implement it here and there. And it just turned into me not implementing it.
Exactly. I read the book and I was like, this is great. Let's do it. And everybody was like, yeah, whatever. It wasn't until I was like, nope. And got everybody behind it, and got the coach, and Ross Folk has just been fantastic. But yeah, exactly.
Totally
okay.
agree.
So what is the craziest thing you've ever done?
Craziest thing I've ever done? Oh, man. I love doing lots of crazy things. It's hard for me to think about like the craziest thing. I'm definitely an adrenaline junkie. I would say this is not the craziest thing, but for some reason, this is just what popped in my mind. I like just being absolutely random, very random and weird. And so I can remember when I was dating my now wife, I'm like 20 years old or something. And just for fun, I just said, hey, grab your bathing suit. We're going to go swimming. And this is so dumb. Like BW, Buffalo Wild Wings, they have like those, like in those little like strip mall areas, sometimes they'll have like little, like, I don't know, little tiny lakes with like a fountain or something kind of coming out of it. And it's like kind of almost like on the boulevard of the road. We just went swimming in that just for fun. Just no good reason other than just to do it and just be like, yeah, we're just going swimming here. And like these people are coming in, just driving by the highway, and they're just like, what are these kids doing out here in the snow or in the water?
And she went for it.
She went for it. And that's what I knew. She's the one, right? She's the one.
That's great. That is a crazy thing. So what is, you talked a little bit, well, you already told me like your favorite book, Love Work. So what are some of the best conferences that you attend, William?
Yeah. You know what? Conferences kind of got shut down a lot.
Crushed, right? Are they coming back? Do you go back? Do you do the big
they
marketing?
Are coming back. They are coming back. I've done a lot of the online ones here because I speak at them. The one that used to be my favorite was called IRCE, Internet Retailers Conference and Expo. They've changed the name of it now. I got to even look and see what that's called now. If I go to another one again this year, that would probably be the one that I'd like to go to. Otherwise, industry specific ones are always fun for going to for us, like, Shopify Unite or something like that, because we're big on the Shopify platform. Right. Stuff like that. Those are the ones that I'd say I get the most from. But yeah, it's I can't remember the last time that I went to
traffic conversion. Do you do traffic? Yep.
I haven't been there, but I know a lot of people that go and really like that one.
Yeah.
What I've found is that I'm more excited about just going and connecting with the people. So
right.
whichever one I can find. Yeah. Where can I find the people that I want to go hang out with? Great. Let's go to that one.
And what about some of your favorite tools? Like, you got any tips, like favorite software that you like to use or tools?
Yeah, I'd say that the game-changing software that I really like using is Asana. It's maybe not that revolutionary. A lot of people talk about it. There's other versions. There's, ClickUp and stuff like that you can use. But, for somebody like me, especially, I really like things color-coded. And I like that there's variations of like how you can set the start date, you can set the end date, you can set the start time. And so just being able to have like this system where everything is easily organized by client, by color, by department, start, stop dates, end dates, times. It just makes things very simple and easy to know almost at a quick glance of like what needs to happen. Are people too busy? Where are we at? Are there things we can cut back, dial back, do more of? So it's probably my favorite one. And if I had a second favorite one, it's actually a free one. It's Google Sheets. It's just insanely powerful. You can actually, bring ChatGPT. You can bring ChatGPT right into your Google Sheets, and you can run a bunch of stuff through there. You can tie in all kinds of APIs there. And so, super metrics, you can pull right in there, pull all there's so much that you can do in Sheets that if you learn it, it is the absolute most game-changing piece of software I've probably ever used.
Wow. Well, that's great, buddy. Well, dude, it has been fantastic talking to you, getting to know you. You have accomplished a lot in a short period of time. I am a little envious, I must say. Congratulations to you. I am happy to know you now, and
likewise.
And we will definitely be talking more. How does somebody get to work with you? Just go to your website, or is there a special way to?
Yeah, the best way is to just go to the website. It's elumynt.com. So it sounds like Elumynt, like the periodic table spelled differently. So you just go to elumynt.com, fill out the contact form, and somebody will get in touch with you there. That's the easiest way, because that just follows the process that makes things a lot more simple. Otherwise, if they want to follow me, ask questions, things like that, I'm probably the most active on Twitter and LinkedIn. So Twitter handle is just WMHARRIOS 101. So William Harris 101. And then on LinkedIn, it's just William Harris. There's a bunch of us on there, but the backward slash on that is /WMHARRIS.
Well, I'm definitely going to hook up with you. You're the man. This has been fantastic. It's great to meet you. Great to know
Likewise.
you. Thank you so much, William. All right, everybody. It's been Tom Foster and William Harris on the World of Marketing. You all have a fantastic day.